Hey man, you interested in starting a podcast? Well, I've got the perfect solution for all your podcast needs. Let's check out the Tascam Mixcast 4. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Wavy Wayne from Wavy.wav, and today we're talking all about podcasting. Well, one piece of podcast gear in particular, this Tascam Mixcast 4. It's really easy and simple to set up and start using. I'm going to show you how, show you some of my favorite features, work your way through the menus, and we'll be making podcasts in no time. All right, so let's go ahead and check it out, man. All right, y'all, let's take a look at the Tascam Mixcast 4. So right off the bat, we got a talkback control, which can be very useful if you have an engineer that needs to get a message out to the guests or host pretty quickly. So we got that talkback button. You can hold it. It's not latching. I like that. We have solo and mute switches for each channel on here. We have 4 microphone inputs. They all have an independent fader. You also have a USB input if you have anything coming in from your computer. You have a phone input, which is a TRS on there. And this thing also connects via Bluetooth. Over here to the far right, we have the volume control for our 8 sample pads. This is really cool if you need any sound effects or music to be triggered during your podcast. Having them loaded up right here on these sample pads is really dope, and I'll show you some ways to configure those later on in the video. I really love the feature of having the monitor out level here. That way, if you are monitoring via any studio monitors in your podcast studio, you can easily control the level of those monitors. Also, maybe I'm sending this out to be recorded on a separate device, which you don't have to do because you can record everything right here on the Tascam Mixcast 4 to an SD card, which I just love not having to hook this thing up to a computer or even worry about a computer while I'm podcasting. We also have 4 separate headphone outputs that have their own volume control. I love that. You can connect 4 headphones right there. The record button is pretty easy to see. You hit record, it'll start recording. You can stop recording. It also asks you if you're sure that you want to stop recording once you hit that stop button. And you can mark any sections that you need to as you're recording. So let's say you want to mark it for your editor to know to make a cut here or do some special here. You can hit the mark button as you are recording. So this is user friendly, very much so. Even if you are controlling it yourself, which I do for the Married to Music podcast, I'm doing all the controls and triggering the sounds. So, or you could even have an engineer or someone else do those for you and they'll be able to figure this out really easily. So let's say you're not an audio professional, you've never worked with an audio interface before, and this podcast is your first audio adventure. When you first turn on the Tascam Mixcast 4, they actually make it really easy for you to get started. This is actually the opening screen here, and they give you a tutorial every single time. You could choose to cancel this out, but I love that it just pops up every time. So going through, you see we got the first thing you want to do is connect your microphones, your headphones, insert your SD card. Next, you can adjust the levels, right? So you got, these are the output levels, but we also have preamp levels as well that we can adjust. Adjust your headphone output levels. Hit the record button, the stop button as needed. Playback, you can play back right here on the actual device if you want to, or you can take that SD card out and connect it to your computer and use this. They also have a Tascam podcast editor app, which you could choose to use. I only use that to actually load up the samples on the actual Mixcast 4, but you can use this editor app if you don't have another DAW that you like to work with, all right? But the beauty of it is hopefully you just might not need to edit and you can just drop it like it's hot straight out of here. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit my tutorial. And they're asking me now, do I want to turn on phantom power? Because I have a couple of mics already connected. In this case, I'm just going to choose no, okay? Let's take a quick look and walk through the menus of the Tascam Mixcast 4. So here's the main screen. If I had any mics controlled, you know what? I am going to actually turn on some phantom power here. So I'm just going to go straight to that menu button at the top left. Click on that and go to you see all my mic inputs. All the inputs are available here. I'm going to click on mic input 1. And here's how you turn on the phantom power. It's kind of unique, but they making it super easy and super user friendly. So if you have a microphone that needs phantom power, which typically would be a condenser microphone, then you simply just choose condenser mic and that'll turn on your phantom power on that mic, okay? So now you see that my mic is getting an active signal and we can see that nice meter right there on the screen as well. This is how I would adjust that signal's preamp level. And then over here is where you adjust the signal's output level. So this is the input level here. It's good to kind of get that signal somewhere nice and strong up between those orange bars. That's kind of your guide. You don't want to go too much louder than that because then you might be clipping or distorting. As far as voice settings, you can choose that or any effects that you might want to do. I don't go through that stuff. I don't mess with that here. I like to record dry and then take my podcast after I record it and bring it over into my DAW to doing the effects. But you do have all of those different effects that you can add. And you can easily scroll through each of your different inputs and set their input level very, very quickly and easy before you get started, all right? So let's go back to the home page, which brings us here. Let's go back to the menu though, to the main menu. So if we wanted to play back from my SD card, which I don't have the SD card in right now, but you could easily play back just to make sure whatever you recorded is there and that you like it, okay? So the Mixcast 4 also comes with some default sounds that's already loaded up on here and they're already labeled. So this yellow one is gonna be an applause. You can hit it again to stop. We got an alarm there. Got a little drum beat, but you can upload any sounds that you want that might be relevant for your podcast. I like to load our theme song and intro music onto one of them, and then I have some other special sound effects that I like to use personally during the podcast. So really dope. One thing I will show y'all though is the play methods, okay? So I can come right here and change the play method. So for example, the applause is on latch, and if I hit it, it'll play the entire applause until that sample is over. I can change this though to, let's say, touch. And in that case, I will have to hold the pad down the whole time to make it play. As soon as I release it, it stops playing, right? So the replay will be something, you can just keep on doing it like that. So any kind of fast stuff that you want, that might be, let's see, we're gonna put that back on latch. And then we can cycle through too. So right now, this is one page of effects, but you see you can have up to 8 banks. So you can have up to 64 effects loaded on to this Tascam Mixcast 4. One thing I don't like about this though, is that once you actually start recording your podcast, whatever bank is on the front, you kind of stuck right there and everything on the screen and all these menus become obsolete until you stop the podcast. So you really need to come in and set up your settings and make sure that your podcasts and samples and everything, how you want it to be, is already set before you start to hit record, all right? These are some additional settings, some hardware settings. We got our audio settings, USB mix minus, okay, level output, input, solo mode, USB delay. This is really good if you're using a USB. You might need to calculate the delay to make sure that whatever source is coming in from your USB, maybe it's somebody from a computer on a Zoom call or something like that. Maybe that's even the phone thing. That's how we'll typically do it. When we have a guest come in, we plug the TRS, like basically your aux cable, up into the phone input and use that to communicate with our guest who's calling in, right? So you can configure all of that pretty easily within the menus. You got your basic stuff like date and time. You got your SD card settings in case you need to erase or format the SD card. And then you get back home. And that is pretty much it. Now, let's take a look at the controls on the back of the Tascam Mixcast 4, just so I can give y'all an idea of what all the inputs and outputs look like on the back. So on the Tascam Mixcast 4, we have a power button here. We have this nice power cable that actually gets screwed in. I really like that. We have our 4 headphone outputs. These are 1/4-inch headphone outputs. So you can connect any headphones that you have. You might just need a 1/4-inch adapter. Right here, right above our headphone outputs is the SD card slot. So you can put your SD card in there and record directly to that SD card really easily. We also have the ability to connect via USB. This is a USB-C connection. This is where I would normally connect either whatever's going to be on that USB device, or if I want to drag and drop stuff from my computer, you can do that too by connecting via USB-C, and that's how you can load up your samples. We also have our, monitor out. We also have 2 monitor outputs, and right now I'm using those for you to be able to hear the output of this. I typically would sync this with the video while I'm actually doing my podcast recording. You may or may not need that if you're using the headphones. And you have an additional line output as well. Coming over, we have a few inputs. So we have a stereo line in, right, which also syncs to this TRS. So you can switch based on which one you want to use. This is really great if you have some live music or anything, stereo connections that you want to connect, or if you're getting something from a phone, you can plug it right in there through a TRS input. And then you see here, we have 4 combi jacks for 4 microphones. So this is a really powerful audio interface and podcast recording station. All right, y'all, I'm Wavy Wayne from Wavy.wav.com. Please make sure you check out the Married to Music podcast. Shout out to Sweetwater for sending me this dope Tascam Mixcast 4. Let me know your thoughts on this, and if you want to see more podcast related talks on this channel. Y'all be dope.